Hey everyone, I am back with another graphic novel review. In fact, I've got two graphic novels that I'm going to review for you. These are Duke and Cobra Commander. These are part of the Energon Universe series of books that Image and Skybound are putting out. I previously reviewed the start of the Energon Universe with the Void Rivals, and just recently I did Transformers. These are the first two entries in the G.I. Joe books. And I thought I'd go ahead and combine these together because they're both by the same writer. They're very linked in a lot of ways, so let's go ahead and talk about it. The Energon Universe is a reboot of the Transformers and G.I. Joe universes. They are bound together in one story, and it's fun to actually see how connected they're going to be. Because in Transformers, there's really just a cameo appearance by one of the G.I. Joe members, and that really plays out here within these two books. And so I really enjoyed that a lot. They make it very simple for you. You basically just have to buy these trades or read them in the order they come out. In Duke, Conrad Duke Hauser is one of the best of the best, one of the absolute best soldiers that the Army has.
These are my words, Mother. From Army.
But in the pages of Transformers, he saw something that he didn't understand, and the government is covering it up. They're lying directly to him. He has some very personal stakes in this because of the events of Transformers. So basically, he goes rogue. And this is the story of him going rogue, trying to find answers, trying to find who is behind this mysterious happening in Transformers. In Cobra Commander, the titular character is living in Cobra Law. And if you know anything about the old G.I. Joe continuity, you'll know that Cobra Law figured pretty heavily in the G.I. Joe movie. And I'm not super familiar with G.I. Joe, to be honest. I really only started collecting them recently when Hasbro did their 6-inch G.I. Joe classified line. And it was kind of this weird thing where I didn't have a lot of nostalgia for G.I. Joe, but I really liked the designs. And I had enough nostalgia that I started collecting that line. So for me, it's been fun to kind of see the story of these characters be fleshed out for the first time. I do want to go back and read the Marvel run at some point. They just did an omnibus of that. I do think that would be a fun thing to do. There's just a lot of issues, so I don't know. That may take a while. So new continuity it is, much more easily digestible in these little trade paperbacks. But anyway, Cobra Commander is in Cobra Law. He is an outsider who was brought into Cobra Law, but things are getting a little dicey because he has a mysterious artifact, a monstrosity that goes against everything that Cobra Law stands for. A pretty familiar monstrosity, I'll just say that. Don't want to spoil anything. But what is really interesting about it is he gets sent into the world to basically track down Energon. That's a resource that is very familiar to Transformers fans. They were always looking for Energon. Most of their battles involve the Energon, at least in the old cartoon. So they're bringing that back to the forefront, and it's something that not just the Transformers want, but certain humans, especially like some of the people in this book, want to power their high-tech weaponry. Presentation-wise, as far as the cover stock goes, it's very much the same as Transformers. The G.I. Joe books do have a little bit extra design work in them. They kind of have this little caution thing in both of them. Cobra Commander's is red, and in Duke it's yellow. So it's a cool look. It's some nice design work there. All of these books have different artists, but one thing that's really interesting is the styles of the artists they chose are kind of similar. I mean, they're definitely unique and distinct, but it definitely doesn't feel like you're going from one book to the other and kind of having art whiplash. Plot-wise, both of these books really are building up to the launch of the proper G.I. Joe comic book. There are a couple more series to come to be collected in trade paperback. There's Scarlet and Destro, and then we are going to get the actual big G.I. Joe book. And I really like the way that they approach this because it gave time to spend with some of these individual characters, not just Duke and Cobra Commander, but some of the other characters that appear, some of the other members of G.I. Joe, some of the people who are going to be in the future Cobra, which hasn't been established yet, and getting a little bit more of a spotlight on these different characters. And I'm really excited to see how that plays out with Scarlet and Destro. Prose writing style, I'll be honest, Joshua Williamson, who wrote these books, I've tried several of his books, and I don't always just I don't know what it is, but I don't necessarily always gel with his writing for some reason. But it's been a long time since I've read any of his writing, and I think it's really fantastic here. I really enjoyed it. When it comes to things like characterization, there's a lot of characters in the G.I. Joe universe. And I think it's very easy to kind of just throw, characters out there like, here's this person, here's this person. And what I really like about these books so far is that pretty much all the characters, so the main characters, especially the sort of characters you would know if you're a G.I. Joe fan, they've all had pretty distinct personalities for the most part if they had any kind of decently sized role to play. Overall thoughts, if you were going into this not being any kind of G.I. Joe fan, not having any nostalgia for it, I don't know if these books would necessarily be for you. I don't know if they break out from the sort of bubble that they're in, if that makes sense. It's not like it's a breakout hit that somehow transcends the roots or the IP or the love of the IP. They're very solidly written, interesting books. So if you don't have that connection to the property, I don't know if this is going to appeal to you. It might, but for me, who has that sort of slight nostalgia and is collecting the action figures, I've been having a really good time with Duke and Cobra Commander and the Energon